Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to President's Day. You are sitting in what room? And that's right, the East Room at the White House. Now, for you kids, it's important, everybody up to 45, it's important for you to know that this is a duplicate of a room in the White House in Washington, D.C., where President and Mrs. Obama and their two daughters live. And it's called America's Grand Ballroom. And above it is the floor of the residence in the White House where the first family lives. So we wanted to duplicate it because we needed a place for special events like this. And I want you to know that in this room at the White House, Abigail Adams hung her laundry here, hung up big lines across and dried her laundry because in those days they didn't have washers and dryers. Teddy Roosevelt, who you're going to meet in a minute, had the reunion of the Rough Riders in this room. 7 presidents laid in state here, including President Kennedy. And President Lincoln's kids roller skated on this floor. So kids, it's okay to roller skate in the living room of your home. You just go ahead and do it. The president's kids did it. Now, I want to know who of the kids wants to be president of the United States? Now raise your hand. Oh, that's not many. All right, put them down. How many girls want to be president? How many boys want to be president? I think more girls raise their hand than boys, right? Well, that's great. That's great. Good for you. Speaking of elected office, please meet Gene Hernandez, a new city councilman from the city of the city of Yorba Linda. My many years at Disney's coming out. I did this at a Walt Disney World for a long time. Now here's what we're going to do. We have 4 presidents. You may have already met them, but they want to visit with you about the important things in their life and what they did as president in Washington. So we're going to bring them out, and this is kind of formal. So we're going to do it like they do it at the White House and big events. When I introduce them, if you could stand, and we're going to play Hail to the Chief. That's what they do at ceremonial events. And then let's welcome them. They will go up on stage, and we'll have the 4 of them sit there, and each one of them is going to talk briefly about the highlights of their life, and then afterwards they'll answer your questions. So kids, this is an opportunity for you particularly to think up what you'd like to know about President Washington and Lincoln and Jefferson and Teddy Roosevelt. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Presidents of the United States. President George Washington, born in Virginia in 1732. The 3rd President of the United States, President Jefferson, born in Virginia in 1743, the author of the Declaration of Independence. The 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, born in a one-room cabin in February of 1809. He died in 1865. And the 26th President of the United States, Teddy Roosevelt, born in 1858. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. And I introduce to you President George Washington. Mr. President.
Thank you. It's good to be here today, and I've been coming up here for a long time. You put in Washington1776.com, and suddenly I appear. And we were told this was kid-friendly. So I'd like to share something about my life that maybe you do not know. Not only was I first president of the United States, but I was the first president to take children to the executive mansion. Now, I did not take them to the White House because I'm the only president that never lived in the White House. But Martha and I, in 1781, adopted her two youngest grandchildren, little Nellie and little George Washington Parke Custis. Now, since George Washington Parke Custis was my namesake, everybody called him Little Wash, or for short, Little Tub. Now, they used to call me Big Wash, but they never called me Big Tub. I just thought you might like to know that. Now, that was in 81. The war was over in 83. I had sent Martha home with the children to raise them, and she was happy to do that because her son had died at Yorktown of camp fever, and his wife could not keep 4 children. So, by the time the war was over, on the 23rd of December, 1783, I surrendered my sword at Annapolis, Maryland, and that meant I gave up being commander-in-chief. And then I got on my horse, rode straight through to Mount Vernon to get there on Christmas Eve. The family was very happy to see me. I was happy to see them. Many people thought I would be a king or a dictator or something like that, but no. I wanted to be with my family and to meet with them and to love them. And so for several years, we enjoyed Mount Vernon together. And then that fateful knock came on the door saying, "General Washington, you've been unanimously elected President of the United States of America. And we want you in April of 1789 to come to New York to take the oath of office." Well, Martha was not pleased about that. She said, "What more must he do for his country?" And she said, "Because I have the children, I cannot just take those children up to New York. It takes time." So she didn't come until 2 months later. But little Nellie was 13 when I became president. For 8 years, you can imagine what little Nellie was like in the executive mansion. She was known throughout all of Europe as the celestial being. So beautiful was she. And many of the princes of Europe came to Philadelphia to court Nellie because they wanted to make an alliance with this new king of America. But Nellie wanted no part of them at all. She wanted to be with her papa and her grandmama back at Mount Vernon. So my years as the first president with all the first presidencies always took a joy when I could come home and be with my precious family. I thought you might like to know that because many people do not know. And Nellie came to me on the last birthday of my life, but she came and said, "I want you to give me away for my wedding in your blue and buff uniform." And so on the 22nd of February, 1799, I gave Nellie away. And there's a photograph of that wedding that you'll be able to see out in the foyer when you come in. George Washington Parke Custis, Little Tub, I gave him a mansion overlooking the federal city. I said, "I want you to keep an eye on the federal city." It became the Washington Custis Mansion. And then his granddaughter married Robert E. Lee, the great general of the South. When the North came down, they did not want to destroy Robert E. Lee's home because it had been the home of George Washington. So they did the next worst thing. They buried their dead in the front yard, and today it's Arlington National Cemetery.
In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Signed, Thomas Jefferson. See, it took me 17 days to write this document, 17 days holed up in my second-floor apartment at the corner of Market and 7th Streets in downtown Philadelphia, just 2 blocks from Convention Hall. I was a delegate from Virginia, one of 5, and our purpose that very hot and humid summer was to create a new nation, a new society, based on law and logic, not just on military might and right. That the ideals that I espoused in here were to be a beacon of hope for all the millions of people who lived in misery around the world under the yoke of tyranny, of dictatorships. So to that end, when I wrote this, when I contributed to the, not the Constitution because I was in France, but to the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, all of it was to create protection for the people from their government, any government. James Madison said to me, you need never worry that the government will traduce, that is, step on the rights of the people. But I wrote him and said, there never has been a government, nor will there ever be a government that will protect the rights of the people unless they're enumerated, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why you have only 26 amendments to this Constitution that was ratified in 1789. Now, I want to leave you with 2 lines that I think are very important. If you do not vote, you may not criticize. And a more esoteric one, perhaps, Benjamin Franklin said that any people who are willing to give up essential liberties for temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Please keep that in mind. Timid men prefer the calm of despotism to the tempestuous sea of liberty. I thank you for upholding our rights in this libertous land.
And a good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for being here. You see, I'm glad to see you. I hope you're glad to see me. But I must tell you, folks, I have the best of the bargain. Yes, I do. Born in Kentucky, 1809, a small log cabin. I want to tell you, young folks here, there's one thing more important than anything that I've ever done. I was talking to a group of people one day, and I told them that as I can stand here as the 16th President of the United States and my father's son Having been born in that log cabin with a dirt floor, and now I reside in the White House of the United States. The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States give you and I the very same opportunity. You young people have the same opportunity I had. I didn't have a lot. I had only 1 year of formal education altogether. 1 year. If you added up all of the days that I went to school, they don't amount to 365. But I learned what the Declaration of Independence was about. I learned what the Constitution was about. One of the books that I had at home, I only had 5 altogether in that house. One of those books was The Life of George Washington. And I had a young student, really, who was in school with me one day. And he said to me, he says, "Wouldn't you like to be president?" And I said, "That's not possible because I don't have an education." But boys and girls, you get your education every time you open your ears and listen to other people talking. That's education. And you have to learn how to be a listener. You have to learn. It isn't just something that's there. You have to really fine-tune your ears so that you hear everything. As a lawyer, I was admitted to the bar in 1837. You have to figure out how many years I had been on this earth at that time. But you see, I didn't go to school to be a lawyer. I studied under another lawyer until I could pass the oral examination by the judge. And I got my license to practice law in the state of Illinois. And not only there, but I got my license to practice law in the Supreme Court. Not bad for a 1-year education, isn't it? It shows what you can do if you really want to do something. Do you have the dedication? Make the declaration of what you want to do. Then you better have the dedication and the devotion to carry it all the way to its end. The Emancipation Proclamation I wrote, the greatest thing I've ever done. If I'm ever to be remembered in history, I hope it's for that. And the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, that was one of my greatest challenges. Because that Emancipation Proclamation is not law. That's my proclamation as president. If I lose the election in '64, slavery will come back. And if this war ends before that 13th Amendment comes through, it's going to be an extremely difficult time to ever get it signed. So those are the things that drive me to get that 13th Amendment, to free everybody in this entire United States. Thank you.
Bully, I am delighted to be here today. You know, there's an old African adage that says to speak softly and carry a big stick. But while you keep your eyes to the stars, it is important to keep your feet to the ground. I believe that the presidency must be the great bully pulpit to fight the fundamental fight for democracy. I believe in a square deal for the American people. I want to see the rules change, that there is equal opportunity for all our citizens. And as president, I sought to carry that out. When there was a coal strike in 1902, I sought to intervene not on the side of the workers, not on the side of the mine owners, but on the side of the American people. And I brought both sides to arbitration to solve that coal strike in the interests of the American people. And in my policies, I sought to seek what was best for our nation. When I had read the book, The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, I was shocked by the unsanitary and horrible conditions of the meatpacking plants in Chicago. And I recalled when we had fought the Spanish in Cuba, we lost more men from diseased meat than we did from Spanish bullets. So I urge the Congress to pass the Pure Food and Drug Act to regulate the production of meat and to see not customer beware, but the consumer and citizen be protected. But I believe the greatest contribution and challenge that we have to our domestic policy is the conservation of our natural resources. Yes, we have the right to develop those resources, and they must be developed not just for our generation, but for future generations. But they also must be protected and preserved for the use of future generations. That is why, as president, I saw to it that we created over 100 million acres of national forests. As president, we created the third national park, Yosemite in California. Yes. I recall what inspired me. I toured it with that great naturalist John Muir, and I knew that it had to be protected and preserved for future generations. Also, as president, I created the first national monuments, those being the Grand Canyon in Arizona and Pinnacles in California. And I also created the first national wildlife refuges to protect wildlife and to protect birds. And in the field of foreign affairs, it is not a question of whether the United States will take a role in world affairs. We will take a role in world affairs. The question is whether we will take it for good or for ill. And I saw to it that we were to take an active role in world affairs. When war broke out between Japan and Russia, I brought both sides to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where we negotiated an end to that war, which resulted in the Treaty of Portsmouth ending that war. And as a result, I became the first American and first American president to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, thank you. Yes, I won it for what I accomplished, not for what I said. Yeah. But one of my greatest achievements in world affairs as president was the building of the Panama Canal. Now, both France and Britain had tried to build a canal across the Isthmus of Panama. And we had also tried to negotiate with Colombia that owned Panama at the time. I tried to negotiate with those jackrabbits, but I had as much success with them as I had trying to nail currant jelly to a wall. So when the people of Panama rose in rebellion against their Colombian masters, I sent an American warship to support the Panamanian people. We recognized the new Republic of Panama, signed a treaty which gave us control of a 10-mile wide strip across the Isthmus of Panama. And while the Congress is debating the canal treaty, let them debate the canal treaty, because the building of the canal will go on. And as president, I sent our fleet around the world. I had it painted white so people would recognize and know that our nation had arrived as a major world power and that we were to be taken seriously and to be respected in world affairs. But as I look back on my life, I remember telling my wife Edith the other day at our home of Sagamore Hill, I told her, "You'll never know how much I will love my home of Sagamore Hill." And as I come to the twilight of my life, all I know is that when death takes me, it will have to take me when I am asleep, because if I am awake, there definitely will be a struggle. Nobody enjoyed being president as much as I did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, as we promised, they're going to they've got important meetings today. They've got wars to fight. They got cabinet meetings. They've got appointments to make. But they have agreed to stick around for a few minutes and answer questions, if you have any. And I'd like the kids to have the first shot of it. Come up here, and I'll give you the microphone, and you can ask the question. So, who has one?
She does. She does. There she
Let's
does.
see. All right. Come on over here. Come on over here. Now, here's what you have to do. You have to say your name, okay? And then direct the question to whichever president. Can you do that? Okay, you're first.
Okay. My name is Lena.
Look at the presidents.
Why did your daughter carry a snake in her purse?
Ah, delighted. I would be happy to answer that question. You see, I was having a cabinet meeting, and my daughter Alice interrupted it, and she happened to carry some garter snakes in her purse. And she brought them out at the cabinet meeting. One of the cabinet secretaries said to me, "Mr. President, can't you control your daughter Alice?" I told them, "I can control my daughter Alice or be president. I cannot possibly do both."
Wonderful.
My name is Raphael. Why do you wear a top hat?
Why do I wear this strange-looking hat? Well, it's just a hat of the times, but really, I must tell you, my goodness, because it contains my papers. It's a wonderful thing.
Very good.
Thank you.
My name is Alex.
Hello, Alex.
Hello, Alex.
What's your question?
How many kids did you have?
How many what?
Kids did you have?
How many children did I have?
Yes.
I had 4 sons. 4 boys. No girls.
Oh, there you go.
Too bad. I'd love to have had a girl.
I had 2 daughters and 4 sons.
Aye.
We don't talk about mine.
Which ones?
My name is Gabriella, and Mr. Lincoln, why didn't you tell us about you holding papers in your hat?
We just
She asked you why about your papers in your hat.
That's what I thought. What about my papers in my hat?
Why?
It's just an excellent place to keep them because I put them in there, I put my hat on, and I don't lose them.
There you go.
And if I were to meet you on the street, I could walk up and talk to you, and I could tell you a story, and you can't tell a story without your hands. And they don't want to be full of papers. So it's a great time for me. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, young lady.
Lincoln getting all the questions.
My name is Damaris, and I was wondering, Mr. Washington, where your wife is.
Oh, where my wife is? Martha. Martha is back with the grandchildren. Martha loved the grandchildren, and they loved her. And Martha, this is important, of the 105 months of the war, of the revolution, Martha was with me 52 months. She came every winter. She left early in the fall and left late in the spring.
My name is Matthew, and I got a question for George Washington.
What's this?
My question is, if you could see Barack Obama, what advice would you give him?
Obama, what advice did you give him?
Yesterday, a reporter asked me the very same question. Knowing that it would appear in the paper, I was very careful to say that I love the office of the President of the United States. I respect the office of the President, always have, always will. I would just say, always put America first and always choose the best people to surround you. Yeah. That's why I chose Thomas Jefferson to be Secretary of State. Not that he agreed with me or I with him, but he was the best. So always do that.
Excuse me, how many lines did you write?
How many what?
Lines.
Lions?
Lines.
Lines in the...
Lines.
Oh, they cut it by half, so I don't know. You know, you stand up in front of Congress, you're doing your best, and they make sure that it gets better, at least shorter. But What was left, yes, they were my words. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My name's Diana Henriquez. I was wondering what made you guys decide to be presidents?
Well, I will tell you that I did not enjoy being president. I had a migraine headache every day from sun up till sundown. But when the country chooses you, you have to go. You have to do your duty. All of us served not just so that we could be important or have birthdays lionized, but rather so we could supply the people with the kind of leadership they needed to keep their democracy afloat and to keep their happiness in check.
And
Thank you.
I agree.
My name is Lucy, and I'm asking President Roosevelt, what made you want to be president?
What made me want to be president? I wanted to serve the American people and work in their interests. I believe, as my predecessor as president, and by the way, my predecessor as governor of New York, Grover Cleveland, said that public service should be a public trust, that the government should be working in the interests of the people, not for your own selfish interests or to advance yourself, but to see that government be used to improve the lives of people.
Hi, my name is Vivo, and I'd like to ask President Roosevelt, why was it so important to you to make the park Yosemite?
Important to make the what?
Yosemite.
Yosemite. Why was it important? Well, anybody who has traveled to Yosemite and has seen the beauty of that valley knows it is unique and special, not just in this country, throughout this world. And if we do not preserve it, people will exploit it and develop it and destroy the beauty of that place. That's why it was important to do that. And I believe the same thing with the Grand Canyon.
My name is Acacia, and I want to ask President Lincoln, how many papers did you put in your hat?
Something about something in your hat.
Papers did you put into your hat?
How many papers did you put in your hat?
How much would it hold?
How big is it? Now, you wanted to know how many papers I could get in it. A lot. Because the other lawyers in Springfield would always tell other people, like yourself, Mr. Lincoln carries his entire office in his hat. Well, it won't quite hold it all, but it'll hold an awful lot of it. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Laura, and I'm asking President Roosevelt,
Yes?
what about the teddy bear?
The teddy bear. I am delighted you asked about that. I was on a camping trip, I believe it was in Louisiana, and we were out hunting, and someone had caught a poor bear cub. It was orphaned, and they brought it to me, and they asked me to kill it. I refused to kill that bear cub, and when that story became public, a toy manufacturer in New York City honored me with this, the teddy bear.
Hi, Maddie, and I wanted to ask George Washington a question. Why did people wear wigs in a court?
Why did
people wear wigs in
Oh,
court?
wear wigs. Well, it's like my wig. If you're like me, with white hair, you didn't have to wear the wig. In fact, I didn't wear a wig. But most people did because there is nothing like white hair.
When you're 270 years old, you have to wear a wig.
Hi, I'm Caitlin, and I want to ask Thomas Jefferson something. How are you so creative?
How am I associated with what?
Creative.
Creative.
I'm so sorry. I can't hear.
Creative.
Why are you so creative?
Oh, creative. Oh. Well, when you're born with it, you have to produce it, do you not? But I'll tell you, I didn't live in fantasy land. I lived in the reality. The reality was tough. I lost a wife. I lost a number of children because we couldn't do anything about it. But you get creative when you start to think about what a life could be beyond you. What is this new nation that we are creating? And the creative is the key word. We were creating the oldest extant democracy in the world today. You live in this democracy. What I'm hoping you will do is understand the purpose of it and how to keep it going for your grandchildren. Thank you.
My name is Boaz. I want to ask President Lincoln, how do you become a president?
How do you become
How did
president?
I become president? How did I become president? This is your question.
Hard.
I had no desire for a long time to become president of this country because I felt that I had no education. I didn't care to run for president. But then I had 7 debates with Senator Douglas in the state of Illinois over the issues of slavery. And by the time I got through with those 7 debates and some other matters of Mr. Douglas, and I knew that I could beat him in an election in a run for the presidency a couple of years later. I knew that I could do that. But I felt that I could do something about keeping this country together as one country, as our forefathers gave it to us, and I felt that I could do something about the issue of slavery. Slavery is wrong morally. I think it's wrong legally, and though I have no purpose as a president, I can't do anything about slavery myself. That takes Congress to do that. But I can have the influence to keep slavery controlled in the South and not let it spread over the entire United States. Good.
Thank you.
Good.
We have time for 3 more questions, starting with this young man here.
Sorry.
I have 2 questions, one for Thomas Jefferson and one for Abraham Lincoln. So, how long did it take you to write the Declaration of Independence?
17 days, 2 weeks and 3 days, holed up in my little apartment.
And is it true that a little girl wrote a note to you to grow a beard?
Yes, that is true. Her name was Grace Bedell. She was 11 years old. She wrote me that letter and she said, "You would look a whole lot better if you grew whiskers." And I thought, this young lady is trying to tell me I'm ugly? Because that's what a lot of the people thought, that I was quite ugly, homely, in other words. So here is this young lady. But she had one more thing to say. And that was, Mr. Lincoln, I know all of my brothers will vote for you, but if you grew whiskers, all of the ladies enjoy a man with whiskers. And they would have their menfolk, they would tease them into voting for you. That's a smart young girl.
My name is Leanne, and I would like to ask Mr. Washington a question.
Yes.
Do you really have fake teeth?
Yes. When I was President of the United States, I had one tooth right down here, and that was it. So all of the pictures that you see of me, I am not smiling. It was terrible. I had very bad teeth.
Hi, my name is Christina, and I wanted to ask Abraham Lincoln what were the main reasons the Civil War started?
What were the main reasons the Civil War started?
Oh, my. I could, in one sense of the word, I could tell you in just 2 words, or even 1 word. Politicians. caused the war. And this is true. There were 80-some years in between. And when Congress convened all of those years, every time the mention of doing something, doing away with slavery, it was put under the table and they didn't discuss it. So consequently, it went on and on and on. But let me ask you this, or something, or I'll tell you. There were 4 million slaves in the South. Those slaves are worth $4 billion. That's with a B. Now you understand why the Southern people would not ever give up those slaves without a fight. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks to each of the presidents for your terrific performance and presentation today. Thank all of you for coming at 2:30.